Hey guys, and thanks for tuning into VGR. So, if you guys watched my previous video, this is part two. I definitely suggest going to check out the other video, as long as it may be. It's kind of interesting. So, again, I just want to know if any of you guys have had any cool experiences with paranormal stuff happening to you when you were younger, or maybe even now as adults, you're experiencing something very odd in your house, and you've had those moments where you've kind of seen something and you're willing to share. Please feel free to do so by either commenting in the comment box below, or feel free to make your own video and link it to this video, and I would love to see some video responses to my story, and in this video, my mom and dad's side of the story of what was going on. And for anybody who's tuning in and wondering, where the hell are all my gaming videos? Don't worry, I have gaming videos coming up. I'm actually in the process right now recording on the TV of Borderlands 2, a fantastic game. If any of you guys have played the previous Borderlands game, this one's better in my opinion, just for the fact that it's a little bit more convenient. And I'm going to be uploading that. I also have quite a few other games that I'm working on my Xbox with let's see, I picked up Resident Evil 6. I got Resident Evil 6 Archives as a gift from my girlfriend's mom. She sent it over to me as a very late birthday present, which was totally awesome because I wasn't expecting it. I thought I was just going to get Resident Evil 6, but this one came with Resident Evil 6, Resident Evil 5 Gold Edition, Resident Evil Code Veronica, and the Resident Evil Degeneration movie. If you guys haven't seen Degeneration, it's not too bad. I watched the latest one, the latest animated Resident Evil movie. If you guys are fans, definitely check it out. It's not too bad of a storyline. I kind of found it really interesting. It's starring Leon Kennedy again. But yeah, don't worry. I'll have those videos up. I promise. I know I've been promising and promising, but we are going to be moving from this shitty apartment unit into, ironically, a townhouse unit. So we'll see if maybe I have some more ghost stories to share with you guys for next Halloween. We'll see how that goes. But I'll be setting up a studio in the basement so I can record. I can record a little bit easier the gaming videos and the walkthroughs with commentary, and show you guys some interesting glitches in some games. Hold that thought. But I'll have those videos up very soon. Okay, I promise. We're gonna be moving on December, so I'll set up my studio and I'll try and upload as many videos as I can. I've got like 50 plus games for my PlayStation 3. I'm going to be picking up even more games this Christmas time, and on Boxing Day I'm going to try and go out and scrounge around for some video games before anybody gets to it. So I'm going to be getting up real early to run down to the local gaming store. But yeah, okay, so we're going to continue with part two of the story. So I found this stuff out not too long ago. I think my mom's side of the story that I found out about the experiences that she had, or one of the most relevant experiences that she had at least, happened maybe 5-6 years ago. So about 5-6 years ago, I talked to my mom, and at the time I was kind of interested in the paranormal. I've also studied a lot of pseudoscience, and I've studied you know anything from paranormal activities, unexplained mysteries. I've even kind of like bothered, if I can even say bothered. I think that's a really cruel way of saying it, but I've partaken in watching some shows like celebrity ghost stories and ghost adventures, and unfortunately Paranormal State. And I noticed that those experiences seem similar, but I'd always been curious if my mom and dad have ever experienced anything in the townhouse that we were living in. So I went to mom one day, just randomly, and I told her about all the experiences that I had in the townhouse. And she paused, and she goes, "You know what? I think after all these years, I can probably tell you that there was some stuff that happened." So apparently, one night, my mom said that she had woken up, and it must have been around the same time. everything seems to happen around like 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning is when it would pick up, and 3 o'clock in the morning is where everything would peak. Well, she woke up, I think it was around 2:45, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, somewhere between that time period. And she said that she had this odd sensation of being strangled. She said that she could feel the thumbs on I guess where the lymph nodes are located, and she could feel the hands coming around and strangling her. Well, she woke up in the middle of the night, choking, and kind of disoriented, not knowing what the hell is going on. So she's trying to put her hands to her neck. She can feel this cold sensation around her neck with the thumbs pressing down, the fingers squeezing. So she's telling me about, how frightened she was at the time, where she was experiencing being strangled by something she couldn't see. Now you figure, okay, maybe it could have been my dad, and I can add on to that afterwards. Maybe it could have been my dad. Maybe it was a pet that we had. You have to understand, we did have a cat at the time. The cat that we have still currently is the cat that I got around the time I was like 6 years old. She would never go onto the bed with my mom to fall asleep because my dad is like a sporadic sleeper. He would move around a lot. So that was out of the question. My dad wasn't, wasn't even facing her at the time. So she's telling me that she felt these fingers around her neck choking her, and the sensation was very, very fierce, which was similar to the experience that I had had at the time of being, I think I was maybe 5, 6 years old at the time when I had my first experience where I woke up in the middle of the night and I felt like I was being strangled. I could feel fingers around my throat, and I woke up around the same period of time, within the same time frame, and I got up and I started knocking on my mom's door, just furiously knocking on my mom's door, trying to yell, but all that could come out was a whispered, "Mom," and I would be yelling that to the top of my lungs. I couldn't yell. It felt like my vocal cords are just being squeezed, and nothing could come out as I was wanting it to. So she's explaining this to me, and I'm just like, wow, like I had that experience too. So I told her about all of my experiences, and then she lets me know that she had, this feeling one night where she felt like somebody was sitting on her chest, and it was this very constricting feeling. She said she couldn't move. She felt like she was being pinned down to her bed. She couldn't move her arms. She couldn't move her legs. She couldn't move her torso. Couldn't open her eyes. She said, she tried to open her eyes, but it was this sensation of fear where she couldn't do it. She couldn't bring herself to opening her eyes, which now, after doing some research into lucidology, lucid dreaming, astral projection, I read some books on various forms of identifying astral projection signs, that you're in that state of it happening. It could have been that, because one of the most pronounced feelings of astral projection can occur when you wake up in the middle of the night and your body is immobilized and you feel this pressure on your chest. And if you acknowledge it consciously to get out of your body, supposedly you can. You can project your consciousness out of your body, but that's a topic I really don't want to start any arguments in the comment box below. So don't worry about that. But anyway, I digress. She's telling me, she was freaking out. She didn't know what the hell was going on. So I'm like, okay, wow, I never knew, because she never acknowledged it to me at the time, which, looking back, I can understand that you don't tell a 7-year-old kid that your house may be haunted, or, that your parents, to tell you that they were powerless at some point is like, it's just beyond you, because up until a certain point, your parents are like, they're indestructible. That's how we as the kids of our parents see them. Is just they're indestructible. It's not until later on in life you see that they're just like you. They're vulnerable. They're susceptible to everything you're susceptible to. But anyway, so I just I acknowledged it and I go, wow, that's intense. I didn't know. And then I asked her, did anything else happen? So she kind of paused and she thought about it, and she goes, not that I can remember, but that was the most, prominent thing for her, was that sensation of being strangled. So, after a few years go by, I decided I'm gonna ask Dad. You know, I'm gonna ask Dad if he experienced anything. So I think I managed to speak with my dad. I started talking to him about three years ago. My girlfriend convinced me, that it's just time that I push aside all of the hard feelings with my dad, kind of reconcile with him, and just start building an actual foundation for us to kind of to get to know each other again. So as he's explaining, his experiences, because we got into the subject of paranormal things and very odd happenings occurring in our lives. um, I told him what I had experienced growing up, and he stopped and he goes, you know what, let me tell you something. One night I was in bed and I was having this horrible nightmare, and I was fighting some sort of being. He never really described it in detail. He says, one night I woke up and I had my hand wrapped around your mother's throat. And I said, wait, Mom had this sensation that somebody was choking her, but you were facing the other way. When she did look over to try and ask for some sort of help, she wasn't able to get it out. It was very similar to my experience, where I was being strangled and the words wouldn't be able to come out in anything more than a whisper and anything less than just pure silence. So he goes, okay, well, this was definitely a different night. It was around 3 o'clock in the morning. I woke up from a nightmare. I was in some sort of a struggle in my nightmare. And when I woke up, I had flipped over to your mother's side, and my one hand was choking her. And I saw the look on her face when she had woken up after when you experience kind of like a nightmare sensation of like you're maybe falling, your whole body jerks, and then you wake, like you either open your eyes or you wake up. So he said that he apologized to my mom, and he just didn't understand why the hell he would flip over and react like that. But of course, he did have a very difficult case of insomnia, where it would be almost impossible for him to fall asleep, and when he did, it would happen at the most awkward times. I know there's another clinical term for falling asleep at random moments, but it wasn't like that. It's just he was so overly tired that he couldn't fall asleep at night properly. He would only be able to sleep throughout the day. Um, and no, it's not like a form of depression. I know depression has those symptoms, but so he explains how he woke up in the middle of the night choking my mom with his left hand flipped over, and just started gripping at her at her throat. And I go, wow, man, like that's intense. So what else? And he says, well, a few months after that, I fell asleep and I thought I was waking up. I got the sensation that I was almost floating. Like when you float on water, if you just let your body relax, you can actually float on water, and the ripples and waves will just carry you. If you're in the middle of the lake, just the ripples and the waves will carry your body. So he's explaining how he's getting the sensation where he's floating, and he feels himself almost like something is pressing up against his body and the side of his face. And he opens his eyes and he sees he's touching the ceiling, and he's explaining how you know, he got kind of scared, but not really. He wanted to know what was going on, so he turned himself over, and he's looking at his body laying there on the bed, and he can see himself. And all of a sudden, he just, I guess, the way he explained it to me was that he just gasped, and kind of like this holy shit moment happened to him, and boom, right back into his body he goes. He jerks up, and he's just saying, oh man, it was so crazy. I've never experienced anything like this before. Um, it was just so odd that there's no explanation for it. And at the time, you know, in the early 90s, there was some pieces of information you can find for astral projection, some pieces of information you could find for for out of body experiences or near death experience. But it's not as prominent as it is now on the internet. I'm sure you can Google that shit and find like 150 million pages of the subject. All classified as pseudoscience, but relevant nonetheless. So, that was his experience. Years later, he was moving out of the unit, and somebody put down the first and last for the unit. So he rented out the unit to this woman, and my grandmother had passed away when I was 13, so I wasn't living with him at the time. My mom and dad had separated, so I was living in a different city, but he was moving out of this unit that I had grown up in, and my grandfather was renting out the unit. As he was moving out, another renter came in to get his unit. So he spoke with the two women, the daughter and the wife, and I guess the husband was there too, but um, he just, he kind of introduced himself and said, this is my grandparents' place. Well, this is my grandparents, his parents' place. And he was explaining how, just take good care of the unit, be very careful. This is a very, it's a precious place to us because my grandmother had lived there for many, many years. Unfortunately, she passed away, so he just wants them to take good care of the unit. And he spoke to this woman, and she says, listen, does your mother have like white blondish hair? And he goes, yeah. Why? He goes, did you see something? So she looks at him and with a straight face, just looks him dead in his eyes. She says, listen, I was looking in the mirror in the bathroom, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a woman, blonde hair, like a white gown, almost like a hospital gown, which at the time my grandmother was in a nursing home. She was recovering from a stroke, and she had a heart attack while she was recovering from a stroke. It was like very odd. She had a heart attack while she was on the phone with my grandfather, and she just passed. So she ended up passing in this white, I guess like a hospital type gown, you know. And he looks at her and he goes like, "What? Like, what are you talking about?" And she says, "Well, there's this woman that I saw in the mirror, and your father came in to pick up some stuff yesterday, and I saw this woman in the mirror with blonde hair, in a white gown, like one of those medical gowns, and she seemed very friendly and nice, and she had a smile on her face, but she seemed a little bit confused, and it just broke my dad down. He kind of freaked out. He didn't know what to make of it. So then my dad goes to the unit 2 doors down to our old place, and he goes to grab some stuff that he had left behind, and he just explains to the woman, be careful in this unit. Well, let's fast forward now. September 20th, 2012. I just recently found out yesterday from my father that the unit that I had grown up in, my mom and dad's and my bedroom had burnt down to the ground on the 20th of September this year. And I actually have a link. There is an explanation for why. Apparently, the portable heating unit that this woman had combusted. It just blew up, and it set the curtains on fire. And the fire had only hit the bedroom and my mom and dad's bedroom. So it spread from my mom and dad's old bedroom into my old bedroom, burned them down, and now it's all boarded up and everything. But I will be posting a link down in the description, and it's just crazy. I got the sensation that something was off in September. I didn't know what it was, and my dad told me this, and crazy enough, the burnt-faced, kind of charred up man, I guess, found his way to burn down the unit. But make of it what you will. I just find it kind of interesting. It's interesting to look at. But anyway, so yeah, you guys share your stories. I still have some other ones, some interesting ones, but I want you guys to share your stories. So link a response video to this video. Comment in the comment box below. Just let me know what kind of stories you guys have for me, because I'd love to hear it. I'd love to know what you guys have experienced, because that would be crazy to kind of start this chain going a day before Halloween, especially. Kind of pump up the old Halloween, scared to death mentality that kind of dried up and withered away over the years, because I don't see anybody celebrating Halloween anymore, man. I don't see like decorations up on houses anymore. I don't see people at home, happily handing out candy to kids and dressed up and having fun. It's just so bizarre. Growing up in the 90s, that was like Halloween was the biggest thing when you were a kid. Halloween is like you come home with like a garbage bag full of candy. Now it's like you're lucky to even come back with like one of those, Shoppers Drug Mart tiny bags full of candy. It's ridiculous. But anyway, I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Viral. This is VGR, and this has not been a gaming video. Happy Halloween.